The massive alien ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship was dark metal with strange lights running along its sides. It looked like a giant spear pointed at the planet below. Admiral Taman Park stood in the command center of Earth's main space station. He watched the alien ship on the big screen. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Communications Officer Na-Young Lim. She was young, maybe 25, and her voice shook a little. "Put it on screen," Admiral Park said. The screen changed. Now it showed a creature that looked like a giant lizard standing upright. Its skin was dark green with yellow stripes. Its eyes were cold and black. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. "I am Ambassador Vexithara of the Corvani Empire," the creature said. "I speak for the Galactic Sovereignty Council. We have come to deliver a message to the species called humans." Dr. So-Young Kim stepped forward. She was the best alien expert on Earth. She had studied every piece of alien technology humans had ever found. "This is bigger than we thought," she whispered to Admiral Park. "If they represent multiple species, Earth could be in serious trouble." The alien ambassador continued talking. "The Galactic Sovereignty Council controls this part of the galaxy. We have brought peace and order to 847 worlds. Now it is time for Earth and all human colonies to join our empire." Admiral Park felt his stomach drop. Human colonies were spread across 12 star systems. Millions of people lived on those worlds. They were farmers, miners, scientists, and families just trying to build new lives. "You have 72 standard hours to surrender," the ambassador said. Its mouth showed sharp teeth when it spoke. "You will hand over control of all your military forces. You will accept our governors on every human world. You will pay tribute to the council. If you refuse, we will use corrective measures." The message ended. The screen went black. The command center was quiet for a moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Officers asked questions. Computers beeped with incoming reports. Admiral Park raised his hand for silence. "Get me the president," he said. "And contact all fleet commanders. I want to know where every human ship is right now." While Na-Young worked on communications, Dr. Kim pulled up data on her computer. "Admiral, look at this," she said. "Our long-range sensors are picking up more ships. Hundreds of them. They're surrounding our entire solar system." Admiral Park looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed alien ships near every planet and major space station. They had Earth completely surrounded. It was a classic intimidation move, but it was working. Some of the younger officers looked scared. "How many ships?" Admiral Park asked. "At least 2,000, Dr. Kim replied. "Maybe more. Each one is bigger than our largest battleship." Captain Dongwoo Lee walked into the command center. He was a quiet man, always serious, with graying hair and sharp eyes. He commanded one of Earth's newest ships, but nobody talked about it much. It was classified. "Admiral," Captain Lee said, "I received your emergency signal. My ship is ready." "Good," Admiral Park said. "We might need every vessel we have." President Sun Woo-Jang appeared on the communication screen. He was an older man with kind eyes, but now he looked worried. "Admiral, I just saw the alien message." "How bad is this?" "Very bad, sir," Admiral Park replied. "They want complete surrender. No negotiation. No compromise. Total control." Dr. Kim spoke up. "Mr. President, I've been studying their message. The way they talk, the formation of their fleet, everything suggests they've done this many times before. This is their standard method." "What method?" the president asked. "Overwhelming force display followed by surrender demands," Dr. Kim explained. "They show up with a huge fleet that nobody can fight. The target species gets scared and gives up without a battle. It's very effective." Captain Lee was studying the tactical display. "They're confident," he said quietly. "Too confident. Look at their formation. It's designed to look scary, not to fight." Admiral Park nodded. He had noticed the same thing. The alien ships were spread out in a show pattern. It looked impressive, but it would be terrible for actual combat. "Sir, we're getting reports from all human colonies," Na-Young said. "The aliens are at every system. Same message, same demands, same time limit." President Jang was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke clearly. "I need options, Admiral." "What can we do?" "We have 3 choices," Admiral Park said. "We can surrender. We can try to negotiate, or we can fight." "Fight 2,000 alien ships?" the president asked. "With what?" "Our entire fleet is maybe 300 ships." Captain Lee stepped forward. Mr. President, there might be a fourth option. Everyone looked at him. Captain Lee rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. What option? Admiral Park asked. Show them that humans don't scare easily, Captain Lee said. Sometimes the best defense is letting your enemy know you're not afraid to fight. Dr. Kim was reading more reports. The aliens are broadcasting their surrender demand to every human world. They want everyone to know Earth has no choice. It's psychological warfare. Admiral Park walked to the big window that looked out at space. Earth was beautiful from here, blue and white and perfect. His daughter lived down there. His grandchildren. Millions of families who just wanted to live in peace. Na Young, send a message to all fleet commanders, Admiral Park said. Full combat readiness. Every ship, every station, every defense platform. Yes, sir, she replied. Dr. Kim, I want everything we know about these council species, their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. Already working on it, Dr. Kim said. Captain Lee, how soon can your ship be ready for deployment? Captain Lee smiled for the first time that day. She's always ready, Admiral. Just waiting for orders. The next few hours were busy. Reports came in from human colonies. Some planetary governors wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight. Most were just scared and confused. Admiral Park met with Earth's military leaders. General Wu Jin Han, the defense minister, was angry. They think they can just threaten us and we'll give up everything our people have built? That's exactly what they think, Dr. Kim said. And it's worked 847 times before. Not this time, Admiral Park said quietly. As the hours passed, the alien fleet stayed in position. They didn't attack. They didn't move. They just waited. It was meant to be frightening, and it was working on some people. News reports showed panic in some cities, but most humans seemed angry rather than scared. President Jiang called another meeting as the deadline got closer. Admiral, they're expecting an answer in 6 hours. The world is watching. What do I tell them? Admiral Park looked around the room. At Dr. Kim with her data and analysis. At Captain Lee with his quiet confidence. At General Han with his anger and determination. At all the officers who had sworn to protect humanity. Tell them we need more time to consider their generous offer, Admiral Park said. Keep them waiting. And then? The President asked. Then we give them an answer they'll never forget, Captain Lee said. The alien ambassador had said humans had 72 hours. Admiral Park decided to use every minute of that time. Not to prepare surrender documents, but to prepare something else entirely. As the deadline approached, Earth's response was ready. It wasn't what the Galactic Sovereignty Council expected. It wasn't what they had seen 847 times before. This time would be different. This time they had threatened humanity. The 72 hours were almost over. Ambassador Vexithara stood on the bridge of his command ship waiting. His yellow eyes watched the time counter on the wall. In his long life, he had delivered this same ultimatum to hundreds of worlds. They always surrendered in the end. Still no response from the humans? He asked his communications officer. Nothing, sir. Complete silence. Vexithara was not worried. Silence usually meant fear. Fear meant surrender. Soon human leaders would send desperate messages begging for mercy. It always happened the same way. On Earth's command station, Admiral Park watched the same time counter. Dr. Kim stood beside him reading reports from her computer. Captain Lee was there too, but he kept looking toward the outer edge of the solar system. 1 minute left, Dr. Kim said quietly. Any word from Captain Lee's ship? Admiral Park asked. The Eternal Vengeance is in position, Captain Lee replied. All systems ready. Na Young looked up from her communication console. Sir, the aliens are sending another message. They want our answer. Tell them they'll have it in 30 seconds, Admiral Park said. Ambassador Vexithara received the human message and laughed. His sharp teeth showed in what his species considered a smile. 30 seconds was not enough time to prepare surrender documents. These humans were even more disorganized than most species. Prepare to broadcast our victory message to the Council, he told his crew. Another world falls to our power. But something was wrong. His sensor officer was making worried noises and checking his instruments twice. Sir, I'm detecting a large energy signature from the outer system, the sensor officer said, near the planet they call Pluto. One of their defense stations? Vexithara asked. No, sir. It's moving. And it's big. Very big. On the command station, Admiral Park smiled for the first time in 3 days. Na Young, open a channel to the alien fleet. All frequencies. Channel open, sir. "This is Admiral Taemin Park of the United Earth Defense Force," he said clearly. "You demanded an answer from humanity. Here it is." From the dark space beyond Pluto, something began to glow. At first it was just a small light like a distant star. Then it got brighter. And bigger. Much bigger. The Eternal Vengeance powered up its engines and started moving toward the alien fleet. Captain Lee stood in the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. His crew worked quietly around him. They had trained for this moment for years, but they had hoped it would never come. "Commander Yoon, report," Captain Lee said. Commander Mi-Ra Yoon was in charge of the ship's tactical systems. She was small and quiet, but she knew more about space combat than anyone in the human fleet. "All weapon systems online, Captain. Shield generators at full power. Crew ready for combat. Engineering, how are we looking?" Captain Lee asked. Engineer Kyung-Soo Choi answered from the engine room. "All systems perfect, sir. The new power core is running at 100%. We've got enough energy to fight a small war." Captain Lee nodded. The Eternal Vengeance was not like other human ships. It was bigger, stronger, and built with technology that most humans didn't even know existed. The ship was 15 kilometers long and packed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets, but the aliens didn't know that yet. Ambassador Vex Thera stared at his sensor readings and felt something he had not experienced in many years. Fear. The human ship was massive, bigger than anything in the Council fleet, bigger than anything they had ever seen. "How big is that vessel?" he demanded. 15 kilometers, sir. Maybe more. Our sensors can't get accurate readings through their energy field." Vex Thera's confidence began to crack. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever responded to the Council's ultimatum with a ship larger than their own. Most species didn't even have ships that big. "Send a message to the Council High Command," he ordered. "Tell them the humans have capabilities we didn't know about." But it was too late for messages. The human ship was broadcasting on all frequencies, and every species in the galaxy could hear it. "This is Captain Dongwoo Lee of the Earth ship Eternal Vengeance," the message said. "The Galactic Sovereignty Council has threatened the human species with slavery and conquest. This is unacceptable." Dr. Kim was monitoring alien communications from the command station. She could hear panic in the voices of alien ship commanders. They were asking each other questions nobody could answer. What was this ship? Where did it come from? How did humans build something so large? "The Council fleet has 24 hours to withdraw from human space," Captain Lee continued. "All species currently serving the Council are invited to reconsider their membership. We do not negotiate with bullies, but we welcome friends." The message ended, but the ship kept moving, slowly, steadily, toward the center of the alien fleet. Commander Yoon studied the tactical display on her screen. The alien ships were starting to move. Not toward the human ship, but away from it. Some were actually leaving the battle area entirely. "Captain, enemy fleet is breaking formation," she reported. "Multiple ships departing at high speed." "Which species?" Captain Lee asked. "The bird-like ones and the floating jellyfish things. Also about half of the insect ships." Captain Lee was not surprised. The Council held their empire together through fear. When something bigger and scarier appeared, the fear changed direction. On Ambassador Vex Thera's ship, chaos was spreading. 3 different species had already announced they were withdrawing their fleets. His own crew was asking nervous questions about the human vessel's capabilities. "Sir, the Manthari are requesting permission to return to their home system," his communications officer reported. "The Ethereal Collective is also departing. They say this engagement exceeds their risk parameters." Vex Thera snarled in frustration. "Cowards! We still outnumber them 2,000 to 1. But even as he said it, he knew the numbers were changing. Every hour, more ships left the Council fleet. Fear was spreading faster than his orders could stop it. General Han watched the tactical display from Earth's Defense Command Center. "Look at that," he said to his staff. "Half their fleet is running away, and we haven't even fired a shot yet." "It's brilliant," one of his officers said. "They came here to intimidate us, but now they're the ones who are scared." Dr. Kim was analyzing the alien communications. "The species that are leaving are the ones who joined the Council because they were afraid of being conquered. Now they're more afraid of fighting humans than of leaving the Council." Admiral Park nodded. "Sometimes the best weapon is the one you don't have to use." But Captain Lee was not counting on fear alone. The Eternal Vengeance continued its slow approach toward the remaining alien ships. Its weapons were powered up and ready. If the Council wanted a fight, Humanity would give them one they would never forget. The ship's massive engines created a light show that could be seen from Earth. Energy fields rippled around its hull like blue lightning. The vessel looked like something from a science fiction movie, but it was real and it was heading straight for the alien fleet. Ambassador Vexithara made a decision that surprised his own crew. Instead of ordering an attack, he opened a communication channel to the human ship. "This is Ambassador Vexithara of the Galactic Sovereignty Council," he said. "We wish to discuss terms." Captain Lee's reply was immediate and cold. "You had your chance to discuss terms. You chose threats instead. Now you deal with the consequences." The Eternal Vengeance kept moving forward. Behind it, more human ships began to appear. They were smaller than the great Dreadnought, but they moved with purpose and discipline. The human fleet was mobilizing for war. For the first time in his military career, Ambassador Vexithara wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not behaving like the 847 species that had surrendered before them. They were acting like a species that was ready to fight for their freedom. And their ship was still getting closer. The Eternal Vengeance moved through space like a mountain floating among the stars. As it got closer to the alien fleet, its true size became clear. The massive human ship made even the largest Council vessels look like toys. Captain Lee walked through the corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. The Eternal Vengeance was not just big. It was different from any other ship humans had ever built. The walls hummed with strange energy. Lights pulsed in patterns that seemed almost alive. In the weapons control room, Lieutenant Jin Ho Kang sat at his station, watching dozens of screens. Each screen showed a different weapon system. Some weapons were familiar: missiles, energy beams, railguns. Others were completely new, built with technology that most humans didn't even know existed. "Lieutenant, status report," Captain Lee said as he entered the room. "All weapon systems online and ready, sir," Jin Ho replied. "The stellar convergence cannon is charging, but it will need another 6 hours to reach full power." Captain Lee nodded. The stellar convergence cannon was the ship's main weapon. It was also the most dangerous thing humans had ever built. Even the people who made it weren't completely sure how powerful it was. Deep in the ship's science section, Dr. Yujin Shin was reviewing data that only a few people on Earth knew about. She was a xenoarchaeologist, someone who studied ancient alien civilizations. 3 years ago, her team had found something incredible buried under the ocean floor of Earth. The discovery had changed everything. "Captain," Dr. Shin said when Captain Lee visited her lab, "the alien technology we found is responding to their presence. The systems are more active now than they've ever been. Is that good or bad?" Captain Lee asked. "I think it's recognition," Dr. Shin explained. "The technology we found was left by a civilization that fought the Council's ancestors millions of years ago. They lost, but they left warnings behind. And weapons." Captain Lee looked at the strange devices in Dr. Shin's lab. They were made of metal that didn't exist anywhere else, covered in symbols that no human language could describe. But somehow human engineers had figured out how to use them. The original builders called the Council species the Consumers. Dr. Shin continued. "They expand through the galaxy, taking over every world they find. They did the same thing millions of years ago to another galactic civilization." "What happened to that civilization?" Captain Lee asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Extinct, completely destroyed, but they managed to hide some of their technology before the end. They hoped someone else would find it and use it to stop the Consumers from doing the same thing again." On the bridge, Commander Yoon was tracking the movements of the alien fleet. More ships were leaving every hour. The Council's intimidating formation was falling apart as species after species decided they didn't want to fight humanity. "Captain, we now count approximately 400 enemy vessels remaining," she reported. "The others have departed for their home systems." "Which species are still here?" Captain Lee asked. "Mainly the Corvani and their closest allies, the species who benefit most from the Council's conquest system." Sergeant Haewon Park, representing the Marine Corps aboard the ship, studied the tactical display. "They're the true believers," she said. "The ones who won't give up easily." Captain Lee understood. Every empire had people who benefited from its power. Those people would fight the hardest to keep things the way they were. Ambassador Vexithara was trying to hold his remaining fleet together, but it wasn't easy. His ship commanders were nervous. They kept asking questions about the human vessel that he couldn't answer. Sir, our sensors still can't penetrate their energy shields, his science officer reported. We have no idea what weapons they're carrying. It doesn't matter, Vexithera said, though his voice didn't sound as confident as before. We still outnumber them 400 to 1, but even he knew that numbers weren't everything. The human ship was broadcasting energy readings that were off all their charts. Whatever power source it was using, it was far beyond anything the Council had ever encountered. On Earth, Admiral Park was coordinating with governments on every human world. The colonies were reporting strange things. Old alien artifacts that had been sitting in museums for years were suddenly glowing. Ancient ruins were showing signs of activity. It's like the whole galaxy is waking up, Dr. Kim told him. Every piece of ancient technology we've ever found is responding to something. Responding to what? Admiral Park asked. To the eternal vengeance. To the technology we used to build it. I think we accidentally activated some kind of ancient warning system. Captain Lee received a priority message from Earth. Admiral Park appeared on his communication screen. Looking concerned. Captain, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Other species are detecting massive energy signatures from ancient sites on their worlds. Some are panicking. They think it's some kind of galactic emergency. Maybe it is, Captain Lee replied. Dr. Shin thinks the technology we found was left as a weapon against the Council. Maybe it's supposed to activate when they threaten another species. The Eternal Vengeance continued its approach toward the alien fleet. As it moved, space around it seemed to shimmer and bend. The ship's energy field was affecting reality itself in ways that Council science couldn't explain. Lieutenant Jin Ho watched his weapon displays with growing amazement. The alien technology integrated into the ship's systems was improving their performance in real time. Weapons that were already incredibly powerful were becoming even stronger. Captain, the stellar convergence cannon is charging faster than expected, he reported. At this rate, it will be ready in 2 hours instead of 6. Engineer Choi confirmed the readings from the engine room. Sir, our power output is increasing by itself. The alien technology is enhancing our own systems. Captain Lee had expected something like this, but seeing it happen was still incredible. The ancient aliens who built this technology had designed it specifically to fight the Council species. It was learning and adapting to do exactly that. Ambassador Vexithara was getting desperate reports from his remaining ship commanders. Their weapons were malfunctioning. Their shields were flickering. Some ships were reporting complete system failures with no explanation. It's some kind of technological attack, his chief science officer said. The human ship is broadcasting something that's interfering with our systems. Can we stop it? Vexithara demanded. No, sir. We don't even understand what it is. Dr. Shin explained to Captain Lee what was happening. The ancient technology isn't just powering our weapons. It's actively working against Council technology. Millions of years ago, these two civilizations fought a war across the entire galaxy. The technology remembers. How is that possible? Captain Lee asked. I don't think it's just technology, Dr. Shin said quietly. I think it's more like a living system. It learns, it remembers, and it wants to prevent the same tragedy from happening again. The alien fleet was in chaos now. Ships were breaking down without being attacked. Communications were failing. Some vessels were losing power entirely and drifting helplessly through space. But Ambassador Vexithara was not ready to give up. He had built his entire career on conquest and intimidation. If he returned to the Council with news of defeat, his own people would probably execute him. All ships prepare for attack, he ordered. Target the human vessel. Maximum firepower. Sir, most of our weapons aren't working, his tactical officer reported. Then use the ones that do work, Vexithara snarled. Captain Lee detected the alien battle preparations on his sensors. Commander Yoon confirmed that the remaining Council ships were moving into attack formation. They're going to fight, she said. Then we'll show them why that's a bad idea. Captain Lee replied. He opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. This is your final warning. Withdraw now or face the consequences. Ambassador Vexithara's reply was immediate and angry. The Galactic Sovereignty Council does not retreat from inferior species. We will destroy your ship and enslave your people as we have done to hundreds of others. Captain Lee closed the communication channel and turned to Lieutenant Jin Ho. Lieutenant, prepare to demonstrate the power of human engineering. Yes, sir. What target? Captain Lee looked at the tactical display. There was a small, dead moon at the edge of the system. It was lifeless, worthless, and far enough away from anything important. "Target that moon," he said. "Let's show them what we can do." The Supreme Hierarch's ship appeared at the edge of the solar system like a moving mountain. It was 60 kilometers long, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Energy fields around the massive vessel made space itself ripple and bend. Supreme Hierarch Zalthanan was ancient even by council standards. He had ruled the Empire for over 1,000 years, conquering species after species until half the galaxy bowed to his will. His ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vengeance, watching the alien rulers approach. His crew was ready. The stellar convergence cannon was fully charged, but even he felt a moment of doubt when he saw the size of their enemy. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Supreme Hierarch," Communications Officer Nayung reported. "Put it on screen," Captain Lee said. The image that appeared was terrifying. Zalthanan looked like a nightmare made real. He was 3 meters tall, covered in black armor that seemed to be part of his body. His face was hidden behind a mask, but his eyes glowed red with ancient rage. "I am Zalthanan, ruler of the Galactic Sovereignty Council," the creature said. His voice was like metal grinding against stone. "I have come to end this foolish rebellion personally," Captain Lee replied calmly. "This is Captain Dongwu Lee of the Earth vessel Eternal Vengeance. You are trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately." Zalthanan's laugh was like the sound of worlds dying. "Humans. Another insignificant species that thinks it can challenge the natural order. I have destroyed civilizations older and more powerful than yours." "Maybe," Captain Lee said, "but you haven't destroyed us yet." On Earth, Admiral Park was coordinating with President Jiang and the military leadership. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The ancient technology network was fully active now, and it was having effects that nobody had expected. "Sir, we're getting communications from dozens of species," Nayung reported. "They're reporting massive system failures on council-controlled worlds. Their technology is breaking down everywhere." Dr. Kim was analyzing the data. "It's the ancient network. It's not just defensive technology. It's actively attacking council systems throughout the galaxy." Admiral Park understood what this meant. The ancient aliens hadn't just left weapons. They had left a galactic immune system designed to fight the Council Empire from within. Ambassador Vexithara was trying to maintain order among his remaining ships, but it was hopeless. The Supreme Hierarch's arrival should have restored confidence, but instead his ship commanders were more frightened than ever. "Sir, our systems are failing across the fleet," his tactical officer reported. "Weapons offline, shields fluctuating, engines running at partial power. How is this possible?" Vexithara demanded. "Unknown, sir. It's like our technology is being turned against us." The Supreme Hierarch was experiencing the same problems, but his ship was too powerful to be completely disabled. Still, Zalthanan was angry. In all his centuries of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. "All ships attack formation," he ordered his fleet. "Destroy the human vessel." But when the council ships tried to move into position, most of them found their engines were barely working. Weapon systems that should have been able to destroy planets were producing barely enough energy to power a shuttle. "Captain," Lee watched the alien fleet struggle with their failing technology and made his final offer. "Supreme Hierarch Zalthanan," he said over the open communication channel, "you have one last chance to avoid a war that will end your empire. Withdraw all council forces from human space. Dissolve the Sovereignty Council. Allow each species to govern itself freely." Zalthanan's response was immediate and furious. "Never! The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not bow to an inferior species." "Then you'll fall to one," Captain Lee replied. What happened next changed the galaxy forever. As Zalthanan ordered his crippled fleet to attack, space around the solar system began to shimmer. One by one, massive ships started appearing. They weren't human ships, but they weren't council vessels either. Dr. Shin identified them from her laboratory. "Captain, those are the ancient ships. The original civilization that fought the council." Their technology didn't just leave weapons, it left entire fleets. Dozens of ancient vessels materialized around the Supreme Hierarch's ship. They had been hidden in some kind of dimensional storage for millions of years, waiting for the right moment to return. But that wasn't the only surprise humanity had prepared. "Captain Lee," Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system. You can reveal the rest of our fleet now." Across the galaxy, space began to ripple and bend as more human ships decloaked. Not just one or two, but dozens of them. 7 more ships the size of the Eternal Vengeance appeared near major council worlds. Each one was a supreme dreadnought. Each one was armed with the same ancient technology. Admiral Byung-Soo Kim commanded the second dreadnought, called Righteous Thunder. He appeared on Captain Lee's communication screen, smiling grimly. "Sorry we're late, Captain," Admiral Kim said. "We wanted to make sure every council stronghold got the message at the same time." Captain Lee realized that this moment had been planned for years. While the aliens thought humanity was weak and unprepared, Earth's military had been building the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Zalthanon found himself surrounded by ancient alien vessels and human dreadnoughts. His empire was collapsing as council technology failed on hundreds of worlds. His greatest fleet was crippled and helpless. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Supreme Hierarch felt fear. "This is impossible," he said. "We destroyed that ancient civilization. They are extinct." "Their bodies died," Captain Lee replied. "But their purpose lived on. They left their technology and their ships for the species that would need them most. They left them for us." The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Council fleet, already crippled by failing technology, was no match for the combined power of human dreadnoughts and ancient alien vessels. Zalthanon's great ship tried to fight, but it was outnumbered and outgunned. The Eternal Vengeance fired its stellar convergence cannon for the first time at full power. The beam of energy struck the Supreme Hierarch's vessel and tore through its shields like they were made of paper. The ship didn't explode. It simply stopped working, drifting helplessly through space. Across the galaxy, the other human dreadnoughts were having similar success. Council strongholds surrendered rather than face the same weapons that had defeated their Supreme Hierarch. When the shooting stopped, Ambassador Vexithara was one of the few council leaders still conscious. His ship was disabled but intact. Captain Lee opened a communication channel to him. "Ambassador, you have a choice," Captain Lee said. "You can spend the rest of your life in prison for war crimes, or you can help us build something better." Vexithara looked around at the wreckage of his fleet and the disabled ship of his Supreme Hierarch. The empire he had served all his life was finished. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "Help us contact every species in the galaxy," Captain Lee replied. "Tell them the council is finished. Tell them they're free to choose their own governments and their own futures." 6 months later, Ambassador Ji-Hai Bei stood before the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. She had been Earth's top diplomat before the war, and now she was humanity's representative to a completely different galaxy. The assembly hall was huge, with seats for representatives from over 200 species. Some had been slaves of the council for thousands of years. Others had been members by choice. All of them were now free to decide their own fate. "The human species welcomes all of you to this new era of galactic cooperation," Ambassador Bei said to the assembled delegates. "We do not seek to rule over you as the council did. We seek to work with you as equals." Some species were grateful, others were suspicious. A few were angry that their privileged position in the council hierarchy was gone. But all of them understood that the galaxy had changed forever. President Jiang addressed the assembly via holographic communication from Earth. "The human dreadnoughts will remain active," he said clearly. "Not to conquer or threaten, but to protect the freedom we have all gained. Never again will any species be forced to choose between slavery and extinction. The Supreme Hierarch Zalthanon was alive but imprisoned on a secure human facility. His empire was gone, his technology was useless, and his dreams of galactic domination were finished." Sometimes Captain Lee visited him, mostly to make sure he understood how completely everything had changed. "How?" Zalthanon asked during one visit. "How did an inferior species defeat an empire that lasted 10,000 years?" Captain Lee thought about the question for a moment. "You made the same mistake that everyone makes when they look at humans," he finally said. "You saw our kindness and thought it was weakness. You saw our desire for peace and thought it meant we couldn't fight. You were wrong about both. The ancient alien ships had returned to their dimensional storage, but their technology remained active on human vessels." Dr. Shin continued to study it, learning more about the civilization that had saved the galaxy by losing their own war. They knew they couldn't win, she told Captain Lee, but they also knew that someday, another species would face the same choice. Lieutenant Jinho's hands moved quickly over his control panel. The targeting system of the Eternal Vengeance locked onto the small moon at the edge of the solar system. The moon was about 1,000 kilometers wide, made of rock and ice, with no atmosphere and no life. "Target locked, Captain," Jinho reported. "Secondary weapons array ready to fire." Captain Lee wanted to be very clear about what was going to happen. This wasn't their main weapon. This was just a small demonstration using their backup systems. "Fire when ready, Lieutenant." The Eternal Vengeance unleashed a single beam of energy toward the distant moon. The beam was bright blue and traveled at the speed of light. From the alien fleet's position, they could see it streak across space like a sword made of starlight. The beam hit the moon and something impossible happened. Ambassador Vexithara watched on his main screen as the moon didn't just explode. It didn't break apart or shatter into pieces. Instead, it simply disappeared. For a moment, the entire moon turned into pure light, brighter than the system's sun. Then the light faded and there was nothing left but empty space. "What just happened?" Vexithara whispered. His science officer was checking his instruments 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. "Sir, the moon appears to have been completely converted to energy. Not destroyed, converted, turned into light and heat and radiation." "That's impossible," Vexithara said. "No weapon can do that." "Apparently human weapons can," his tactical officer replied quietly. On Earth's command station, Admiral Park and Dr. Kim watched the demonstration with amazement. They had known the Eternal Vengeance was powerful, but seeing it in action was something else entirely. "How much energy did that take?" Admiral Park asked. Dr. Kim checked her readings. "Based on the mass of the moon and the energy output we detected, I'd say about 1% of the ship's total power capacity." 1%? Admiral Park couldn't believe it. They just destroyed a moon with 1% power? "Not destroyed," Dr. Kim corrected. "Converted, turned matter directly into energy. That's technology we barely understand even in theory." Communications Officer Na Young was monitoring alien transmissions from across the galaxy. "Sir, we're detecting panic communications from dozens of species. They all saw what happened. Word is spreading fast." The demonstration had exactly the effect Captain Lee intended. Every species in the galaxy now knew that humans possessed weapons beyond anything the Council had ever faced. But Ambassador Vexithara was not ready to surrender. He was angry, desperate, and afraid. In his mind, retreat would mean death anyway when he returned to face the Council leadership. "All ships maintain attack formation," he ordered. It was just one shot. They probably can't do it again. His ship commanders were not so sure. Many of them were requesting permission to withdraw. Some were already moving their ships away from the formation without orders. "Sir, we're losing cohesion," his tactical officer reported. "Half our remaining ships are breaking formation. Hold position." Vexithara screamed into his communication system. "Any ship that retreats will be declared traitor to the Council." But his threats weren't working anymore. The alien commanders had seen what human weapons could do. They weren't willing to risk their ships and crews for Vexithara's pride. Captain Lee opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was calm and clear. "That was our secondary weapons array at minimum power," he said. "Our primary weapon system is still charging. You have 1 hour to withdraw from human space. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." Chief Tactical Officer Seung-ho was coordinating with the smaller human ships that had moved up to support the Eternal Vengeance. Pilot Yoonji Song led a squadron of fast attack vessels that danced around the massive Dreadnought like children playing around their father. "Captain, the escort squadron is in position," Seung-ho reported. "All human vessels ready for combat operations." But Captain Lee hoped it wouldn't come to that. "War was terrible even when you won. Better to end this with fear than with death." Dr. Shin was in her laboratory, watching the ancient alien technology respond to the weapon's discharge. The mysterious devices were glowing brighter now, pulsing with energy that seemed almost excited. "Captain, you need to see this," she called over the communication system. Captain Lee made his way to the science section. Dr. Shin showed him readouts that covered every screen in her lab. "The ancient technology is reacting to our weapon use," she explained. "But it's not just responding locally. We're detecting similar energy signatures from dozens of star systems. Ancient sites across the galaxy are activating." "What does that mean?" Captain Lee asked. I think it means the original builders left more than just technology. They left a network. A system designed to activate when the consumers threatened another species with extinction. As if to prove her point, new reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Ancient ruins on hundreds of worlds were showing signs of activity. Archaeological sites that had been dead for millions of years were suddenly generating massive energy readings. The effect was spreading panic among council species everywhere. They had spent centuries cataloging and studying ancient ruins, never knowing they were potential weapons aimed directly at them. Admiral Park was coordinating responses from human colonies when something unexpected happened. A new message appeared on the communication system. It wasn't from Earth or from any human ship. "This is Supreme Hierarch Zalthanon of the Galactic Sovereignty Council," the voice said. It was deep and cold, speaking a language that the translation computers could barely handle. "I am coming to personally deal with this human rebellion." Dr. Kim analyzed the message source. "It's coming from outside our galaxy. Whatever ship is broadcasting this, it's bigger than anything we've detected before." "How big?" Admiral Park asked. "At least 50 kilometers? Maybe more. And it's moving toward our system at incredible speed." Captain Lee received the same information on his ship. The Supreme Hierarch was the absolute ruler of the Council, a being so powerful that most species considered him almost godlike. If he was coming personally, it meant the situation was beyond anything the local fleet could handle. "How long until he arrives?" Captain Lee asked Commander Yoon. "At current speed, approximately 6 hours," she replied, "and our main weapon?" Lieutenant Jin Ho checked his displays. "The Stellar Convergence Cannon will be fully charged in 4 hours, sir." Captain Lee made a decision. "Signal the fleet. All human vessels will maintain position. If the Supreme Hierarch wants to settle this personally, we'll be ready for him." But even as he said it, Captain Lee wondered if one ship would be enough. The Supreme Hierarch controlled an empire that spanned half the galaxy. His personal vessel would carry technology and weapons that the local fleet couldn't even dream of. On his command ship, Ambassador Vexithara felt a mixture of relief and terror. Relief that the Supreme Hierarch was coming to save the situation. Terror that he would have to explain how things had gone so wrong. "All ships maintain defensive positions," he ordered. "The Supreme Hierarch will handle the humans." But many of his ship commanders weren't waiting around to see what would happen. The alien fleet continued to shrink as more vessels found excuses to leave the battle area. Engineer Choi reported from the Eternal Vengeance's engine room that their power systems were still increasing in capability. The ancient alien technology wasn't just enhancing their weapons, it was preparing for something bigger. "Captain, I think the ship knows what's coming," he said. "The power core is automatically optimizing for maximum output." Dr. Shin had a theory about what was happening. The ancient civilization that left this technology probably faced the same situation we're facing now. A local council fleet followed by the Supreme Hierarch himself. They designed their weapons specifically for that scenario. "Did they win?" Captain Lee asked. Dr. Shin looked at her data sadly. "No, they lost in the end. But they came close enough to leave hope for the next species that would face the same threat." Captain Lee understood. The ancient aliens had lost their war, but they had given humanity the tools to win theirs. It was a gift across millions of years, from one threatened species to another. The Eternal Vengeance continued its patrol around the alien fleet, no longer approaching, but not retreating either. The ship was ready for battle, its crew was prepared, and its weapons were charging for the fight of their lives. In 6 hours, they would face the most powerful being in the galaxy. In 4 hours, they would be ready for him.